Welcome to the Secret Keepers Podcast with your host, Corrine Zootlegger. Join us as we uncover the hidden thoughts, stories, and moments that help bring light to the healing power of truth and examine how silence can affect us mentally, physically, and spiritually. We'll also share profound stories, interviews, and transformative narratives to help release ourselves from the hidden and step into healing towards inner peace, joy, and fulfillment. Now, here's your healing strategist and host, Corrine.
Welcome to the Secret Keepers Podcast. I'm your host, Corrine Zootlegger, and today my guest is Nadine Machkovech, and I'm going to have her tell you a little bit about herself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Corrine. I am just grateful to be here with you in your presence to just share. I've known you, I feel like, for a long time, like almost a decade, I feel
Almost a
like.
decade.
Even went back. I know we connected many years ago through my nonprofit work with Rise and, have stayed connected through all of that. And now it's so cool to see you doing a podcast also. Like, I've seen you share your message, and this is something I've watched you want to do. And so I'm just grateful. Like, you are a person in my life, not only that, like, I have connected with, but I learn from and also aspire from to be. I think, yeah, I mean, I love you and you love my family, and that just means so much too.
Yeah.
Like, you have been such a blessing in our life. So thank you for that. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you so much. Of course, yes, I love you and I love your family. And like you said, we connected through Rise. So tell the audience a little bit about you, Nadine. Nadine, the person.
Yeah, so I today can, introduce myself as an author. I have officially, wrote my very first book, my debut book called Enough Already, a journey from hiding to healing. And I am also a educator, an executive director of a nonprofit of Rise Together, which I can share about. But I also am a mom to a little 2-year-old and a fiance to Anthony, and I have recently moved and relocated to Florida. So, born and raised in Wisconsin, moved to Florida recently, and help run our nonprofit here from Florida. But yeah, I recently launched a book and just have a lot of exciting things coming up in 2026. But I have been on a path to recovery for the last 12 years. So I'm also a person in long-term recovery. I just celebrated 12 years a couple weeks ago. It's when I launched my book, and my recovery journey has helped bring me here today. Like, without my recovery, all those things that I mentioned would have never been possible. I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you today. And, I am very grateful for, the opportunities that I have been given and to be able to live a healthier life. And because of that, I found recovery, at the age of 20, for me, before I could legally step foot in a bar. And it was by community and through connection and through sharing my own story of recovery, of my truth, my journey, my healing process, that really helped me heal and grow. But it also has helped hundreds and thousands of other people through the work that I've done in the last 12 years now.
Absolutely. I have witnessed it myself. That is how we met. You came to the high school that I worked at, and you and Anthony had, a presentation that moved me. Having lost my dad and my brother to substances, your message was just, it brought me to tears, right? Because to me, to live on the other side of recovery, to be a person who makes it through that process was something that I didn't get to witness in my family. So I was like, you guys are rock stars to me. I mean, it was like, this is amazing. And I want to know more about how that process happens. And so when we're looking at recovery and in your process of recovery, obviously you didn't just flip a switch and say, done, here it is. It was indeed a process. Can you kind of walk us through like what that looked like?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, walked many paths since finding my journey. And I really realized early on that there are multiple pathways to recovery and that there's no one way to heal or to grieve or recover or, like become different kind of person, no matter what you go through, right? Whether it's addiction or some type of trauma or, a loss or,
Yeah.
maybe you have like a sickness or an illness like cancer or, name a thing, right? And for me, at when I was 20 years old, I also thought, I thought my life was over at the same time when I found recovery. So I was like, well, what else is there to look forward to? When I turned 21, I can't even drink. Like, what is
Oh,
this? And at first
mhm.
it wasn't as appealing to me. I wasn't really understanding or grasping the term or like what recovery really meant, because it was something that I didn't really understand prior to that. It wasn't something that we talked about, even in my family or in community or at school. Like, that was not ever part of the conversation. And it was always either like, you're a mess or you're not.
Yeah.
um, and I was able to find and learn, especially early in my recovery. Not only did I start sharing my story of recovery to, high schoolers and middle schoolers, and got involved with Rise Together, which I think brought a way of accountability, but also community, to know that like my story matters, like my story can make a difference. And I'm like, maybe, just maybe, if I speak out and talk about not just my recovery, but also not just about the struggle, not all about where I've been, but just really where I'm going. What has recovery brought into my life? And that is what has helped me consistently, show up even through some of the darkest times in the last 12 years, because quitting substances was just a really small piece of the puzzle, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, I
Mhm.
was a former opiate, abuser, an IV heroin user. Like, that was, one, never part of the plan, but two, that was just a small piece of what I needed to stop doing. It was all of the other things in my life that I needed to work on, like things beneath the surface that
Sure.
I didn't really pay attention to, that, really led me to using and abusing substances. And so when I started to understand more about why I started using in the first place, I was able to understand, okay, well, maybe if I work on healing this part of my life or my story or my journey, then maybe I can be an example for somebody else. But also that's helped me, to find my foundation, my own foundation of recovery. Because even through loss and change and moving across the country and, losing Gavin and understanding that like life is going to keep moving forward, like the world doesn't stop spinning when a hard thing happens. And I know you know that too, right? Like, especially through loss, it's like
Yeah.
grieving has been one of the most difficult things. I mean, you compare it to like quitting substances, it's like two different, it's a whole different thing of
It
healing.
really is. It
Hmm.
really is. Grief isn't linear. I think people are like, well, it's been this period of time, and well, you should be moving on from the grief and the absence of their physical body makes especially this time of year, where everybody is like, oh, it's joyous, it's wondrous, and it is. And there still
Yeah.
will be always a piece of my heart that aches and misses the people that we love, and that's the human experience.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I want to go back because there's a lot in there because you talked about losing Gavin. And so obviously the audience doesn't know who Gavin is. I should make them all read the book because then they'll find out who Gavin is. But I just want you to touch on Gavin. I was so blessed to know Gavin and such a beautiful soul, but I want you to talk about who Gavin was.
Yeah, Gavin was my, I call bonus son,
Yeah.
stepson, Anthony's son.
Mm,
That's how I knew him. That's how I met him. He was like my little buddy. So Anthony had his son when he was really young. And when I met Anthony, who is my now fiance, he's also the founder of Rise Together, the organization. And we worked together first. I mean, we were best friends, and you can read, of course, about,
mm,
our story and who we are more in the book too. But, um, we really loved our work, yes, and it was the time that we spent together, like with the kids. So not only Gavin, but his sister Jada, also our daughter who's 20. It's wild that she is an adult now. But I met these kids when they were 8 and 10, and it was. It was just a lot of fun. I mean, we got to hang out, we traveled. They went everywhere with Anthony,
yeah.
watching him speak and his kids go with him. And I literally fell in love with him, like watching him share about his kids and share about like the impact that they've had on his life and how, he really then was inspired to create a difference in his community. And I was like, wow, I want to be a part of that. I want to help make a difference. And it was for me, I feel like a blessing because I got to be a part of, this
Yeah.
kid's life. And he was so fun. He was so funny. He would literally light up every room he went into. He would make sure his presence was known. And he made, I always wondered why God placed me, in their life, right? Like, especially as a step parent or a bonus parent. Sometimes you're like, before I even had my own kids, I fell in love with his kids, and it was just really a beautiful, experience. And then Gavin, unfortunately, at the age of 17, ended up passing away from a fentanyl overdose.
Mm.
And he
I
was
want to stop just for a second because I want the audience to know that it was an accidental fentanyl overdose, correct?
Yes,
Right.
absolutely
Okay. I just think that's really
accidental.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and very much accidental. And he was not addicted to opiates. He was not an abuser of substances. He, experimented and, one night as he was, nursing his wounds from a bad situation that he was in, he took what he thought was a Percocet pill, that was laced with fentanyl. And had no idea, and his friends had no idea. And it was, the most horrific experience I have ever been through. I
Mm.
would not,
Yeah.
hope or wish that upon anybody. And it was something that, being in the recovery community and working with other moms and family members for many years prior to, and even the loss of my own family members, like both of my little cousins have also passed to accidental fentanyl overdoses. And they too, took something what they thought was a Percocet pill. And it's, it's not anything you can plan for,
Right.
and it's also something you just never, yeah, it was, I sometimes still don't always have the words for it. That's why I
It's
wrote it,
okay.
right?
Yeah. No, I
And
think it's important.
I think that's a huge part of this process for me because, yeah, Gavin died in, May of 2020, and he just a few weeks after his 17th birthday. And yes, it's, been over 5 years, but it still feels like yesterday. And it's something that I have had such a hard time speaking about, even as,
Mhm.
a speaker myself, that I was able to write about it though. And I found so much healing in, putting my pen to paper and putting my voice out in the world in a different way than
Sure.
I really have before. Not that I haven't wrote, and I've always wanted to write a book, but I had no idea that I was going to go through all of these things, before I did. And I was able to really take the time to process it and walk through that experience because I don't know, yeah, it's still kind of unreal, I mean, and I think about that day, when you got the call and Anthony can share his side of the story so
Sure.
beautifully from stage, and he does. And he talks about Gavin, and it's so incredibly powerful the way he is able to share his story, and hopes to make a difference, for another, young person. And uh, it's really inspiring because I can't do that yet, and not that it's a bad thing. It's just it's interesting like how grieving works and healing and sharing our stories.
I
But
agree.
Gavin was such a light, in my life, and we had really so much fun together. And then to watch, the family lose him and to watch our family members grieve him and what that's been like, and to watch them process it. And, especially my little nephew who always looked up to Gavin, and he wore the kind of the same clothes, and he would pick out like similar shoes, and
Yeah.
he is now getting a beautiful tattoo of him, that's going to be on his body forever. And Gavin's friends who we're still connected to and we still stay in touch with, like that to me means so much, because we're able to continue sharing his story and all of these, different ways, and each of them are beautiful. And it's yeah, it's pretty wild though, because you don't, no matter who you are, you never expect to lose your child uh
No. No,
before.
it's just not the natural order of things, right?
Yeah,
It's just not in it. And I agree. And that's the same thing with a sibling, right? Your siblings are supposed to walk to the finish line with you.
yeah.
And I didn't get that with my brother. So, and I will tell you, I mean, it's been 14 years since I lost Scott, and it's still difficult. Still get a little lump in my throat because it's the sucker punch, right? I can talk a little bit better probably about my mom who died of cancer because I had that opportunity to, it was only a short window, just 2 months, but at least I kind of knew what was coming, right? It wasn't out of the blue. And but and Gavin is a portion of everything about you. You have so many beautiful and wonderful qualities about yourself, but I know that through your recovery and through the grief, you've you started to really dive into who is Nadine and why,
Mm.
like the biggest thing is for me, when my brother died, I was like, why does this happen? I mean, I stood in the funeral home, I was like, this shit ends here. I'm done. Like I don't want to lose any more people to substances that I love, right? I don't want to lose people in general to substances, to watch people struggle and suffer that way. So I know I started to unearth like why? Like why does this happen? Why do we choose that? I know culturally in Wisconsin, like it is the norm for teenagers to drink. When of course I talk to people around the world when I talk about some of the things that happen here in our state, they're like mind blown, mind blown that teenagers are behaving this way, that college level kids are behaving this way. And it's like, I don't understand it either. But it definitely is a culture problem here. Um, but when we look at like, everything through your recovery, through the grief, the many, many humans that you grieve, through your process of becoming a mom, everything that you've been through, I always talk about, how did it affect you? Did it affect you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, mentally, all of the above. I'm just gonna answer that one for you, but I feel like all of the above, right?
Yeah.
But in the path that you've chosen for yourself, if you were to pick from those four things, which avenue would you say the biggest component of healing came from? So spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, where would you say that the biggest piece of healing?
I mean that's really tough because I've had different stages of them, and I think that they have been different at different times for
Okay.
different reasons, right? But
Yeah.
I would say, really overall, the biggest amount of healing I've had is spiritually. And I think that because that just lives through me, so that also comes mentally and physically and emotionally,
Mhm.
is really from, spiritually and really my faith and believing in God and believing in more than me, that there is something, that there is greater energy and forces that are, making the world go around, and that a lot of things are out of my control. And as somebody who is a little more type A and likes to be a little more in control and have things more orderly, I've had to really learn to let go, and to really live and to just be. And that has really led to, my emotional and physical and mental state, and taking the mask off and being my true self.
Yeah.
But then I look at, even just more recently, like the last couple weeks since launching my book, I thought that, and I actually wrote a blog about this just this last week, because I was reflecting on putting my book out, and I was really afraid of, like, okay, well, what are people going to think, or what are they going to say, and how are they going to feel about it? And, are they going to judge me on that one section or that one chapter? And, it's kind of like this, like you think about all these things. So I thought
Sure.
mentally it was going to be more kind of mentally exhausting. But what I found is that it really was actually more of this like physical release and like physical let go of. And it's weird. Well, it's not, because when we learn, and I'm sure, maybe at some point you've talked about like breath work, right? And how emotions are stored in our body, right? And yeah, I think I've even seen Lauren on here, and she was talking about it too, like sound healing, and like just how we hold on to all of these things that are then stored in our body, the trauma, the emotions, the experiences that we go through. And wow, when I put my book out there, it just felt like such a physical release, more
That
than
would
I
be
was
called,
expecting.
I'm sorry, that would be called a somatic release. So
Yes.
physical release of emotion is a somatic release. And so I definitely understand what you're saying, with the breath work and the sound healing and it fits right in with all the neuroscience too, right? As I
Yeah.
think, so I feel, as I feel, so I do, as I do, so I have. It's the basis of my neuroencoding. So really understanding that it's the whole reason why I started the Secret Keepers. That because when we don't allow that somatic release of the emotion and we try, I think society wants us to suppress it, right? Because it's difficult to watch people grieve because we feel helpless. We can't fix it for them. We're a bunch of fixers out there. We want to fix things for people. We don't want people to cry. I mean, I can still hear my parents saying that to me, don't cry. And it's like, no, you know what? Cry. Like get it
Yeah.
out. We don't want to, we want it to move through, because then if you're not swimming in it, it has less chance of living in your body.
Yeah.
And I hear that from you, right? I hear that this book was so cathartic for you. You're not the first person that's told me that writing was this release of the emotion that you had been pent up, right? Because of the fear of what other people would think. And I had one of my mentors say to me, but think about all the people you're going to help, right? There's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people passing judgment because it's human nature.
Yeah.
But you allowing yourself to release what you're releasing, you put your words onto a paper so that other people can read them. And the people that pick up that book, their life is going to change because they're going to see your process, right? They're going to read about your process. And that's going to awaken something inside of them. because they're gonna be called to the book for a specific reason, right? The soul led to that book, and they're gonna pick it up and they're gonna read it, and their life is gonna be changed. And that is powerful, as you know what, Nadine. And I'm so
Yeah,
proud of you. I'm so proud of
thank you. That means so much. And
you.
I hope, and yeah, because I have to I have to believe too that I was meant to do this at the same time, right? And I've been wanting to write a book since I found recovery. And you can even ask like some of the people I first met, when I was even working at a restaurant at the time. I was like, "You wait, I'm gonna write a book, and just you wait." And I thought like I was gonna write this years ago, and I've tried to put words on paper and I tried to figure out what my chapter titles were going to be or what it was going to be like. And
Mm.
every time I wanted to write it, like it just wouldn't happen. Like it wasn't coming to me and I couldn't make it come out of me. Like it just wasn't there, right? And then I
Right.
learned that there was, yes, more life to live and more lessons to learn and more experiences to go through. And yeah, and especially when it got to this point, like this last year, I mean, I really wrote and published and put this book out in a year, and on my own too. Like I'm so proud of myself because yes, I got offered by a publisher to get help and, put it out there and get support on editing and all those things. And I decided, I was like, you know what? It's my story. And you'll read in there like, and I've, said it before, but I'm like, it's my story. I can't mess it up,
Yeah,
And if
right.
it is like that at the end of the day, well, then it's my mistake, and it's my mess up and I'll own it, whatever it is, like grammar or not, like it's not perfect, my book by no means, but what I know is that it's my truth and
Yeah.
my story and it's what
Yeah.
I learned. And gosh, yeah, I mean, definitely an incredible somatic release and
Mhm.
to feel like not only did I accomplish something that I've been dreaming of, I mean, to put it in my hands,
Yes,
too,
there it
like to
is.
put it in my hands and to look at it and to look at the pages. I mean, I put every single picture in this book and I, made sure all the page numbers were right and decided what the beginning was going to look like and the end. I mean, all the
Mhm.
things, right? And
Yeah,
first of all, it's incredible that we can even do that, in the first place, that we
sure.
can like literally, seriously, like create something like this and then put it out for anybody in the world to get. Uh,
Forever, right? Because
yeah,
it's when a book is put out there, there's a physical, your words have physical form forever, right? As
yeah,
long as the book can sustain itself. But for like 100 years, the life of Nadine Machkovech is going to be out there on shelves, on all sorts of library shelves, on people's home library shelves, and it's a living legacy.
yeah,
Keep on giving. It'll just keep on giving, and that is the beautiful part of it too, right? You took everything, and so the people that are in that book, they live on too, right?
yeah,
Their story lives, they live. They, like you've heard it said, right, that their death isn't in vain. And that is a gift to them as
hmm
well, that you are providing. And I hold you in the highest regard for that because it does take a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to put your story out there for anybody. And there are always going to be hecklers and naysayers and whatever. And to them, I say, find something better to do with your time.
yes, please,
And if that's the worst that you have to face for all the good that's gonna come from all of this, I say you're bulletproof. You've been through way worse. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, when you face, I mean, even your biggest fear of like losing a child, right? Like it's like nothing compares, like come at me,
yeah,
okay? Like bring it on, bro, because nothing can
yeah,
compare. And
just gave me
it's
goosebumps. Yeah.
It's it's yeah, and I think that that's kind of why, even since we had Aiden and
Mhm.
decided to move to Florida and we're just like, well, what are we waiting for? Who are we waiting to
Yeah.
give us permission, to
So
do this?
good. Yeah.
And
So good.
it really was like, and I think same with my book, it was like like done waiting for permission. Nobody's gonna say like, okay, Nadine, now's the time to write the book. Now it's okay to,
Mhm.
put your story out. I'm like, no, like now it's enough, like enough already, right? That's why Nate had titled it Enough Already, and yes, we are enough already, but it was like, come on, like do it. What are you
Yeah.
waiting for? And that can be for anything that you're hoping for in your life, right? Hope's not a strategy, and if you're waiting for somebody to give you permission, well, here it is,
Yes.
right? Take
We
it.
will give you permission to
Yes.
write the book. And oh, I'm one of those people. I'm like, I've been talking about it for years too. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. But I'm like you. I'm like, something just didn't, it's not quite ready. I feel like there's just a little piece yet of something that's percolating up in there. And but I hear it. I'm receiving your message and I'm getting lots of confirmation, goosebumps that, the spirit is working through, and it's like everything that you're saying, right? So you put it out there, you did the thing, it took you a year, it might have a couple imperfections in it. So what? Who cares? I dare you to find them.
Right.
Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Put it out there. Buy the book. I dare you to find them.
Yep.
And you can send us an email about it. I don't really care. Whatever.
Exactly. I think I did actually. I already found like two or three, but I'm like, well, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And you know what? I find them in published, books published by publishers as well. So it's just
It's true.
we're human. So this whole process, though, you know, you you started, I don't want to, because I want you to talk about your process, but yet I don't want you to talk about your process because I want people to buy the book and read it. But I do want you to just like a little glimmer of maybe it can be your golden nugget of wisdom to tell us like what was the really big piece for you of this journey, because there's people will tell you, well, start with mindset or start with this or, do that. And there's always somebody has the best method for this journey. But your process, what's the gold nugget out of all of it?
I would say the best part is to truly speak my truth and
Mm,
share my story authentically and to take the mask off and really be me, not who I thought I needed to be or what I thought the world wanted me to be or my parents or my friends or boyfriends or family members. Like for me to just be who I want to be. That has been the most healing part of this process. It's been the golden nugget, and it might be really even kind of cliche because they're like, well, what does that mean? It means that I'm done like pretending to be things for other people, right? Like we have all these roles and titles, and I can say, yes, I'm an author and a mom and a fiance, or all these, accolades. Like I've been, on TEDx or with
yeah.
featured in Forbes or, did an interview here and recognized here, or whatever that is. Even being in recovery and sharing my story, all that awesome. But at the end of the day, like, I have been able to like fully be who I am without hiding. And that has been the best part about it. I don't know. And I don't even know if there's like exact words to describe it yet. I think because I'm still living in it. Like I'm still learning it and I'm still kind
Yeah.
of discovering what that is to me. But I do know that a huge part of that was sharing my truth, through this book and on this journey and sharing it with others, what the process has been like. Well, really, it's just truly being me. Like I've
Yeah.
been, yes, sharing my story for a really long time, but I think part of it though is like I'm also at a different part of my life, right? And I think that we kind of learn who we are as we grow, right? And
Right.
as we mature and as things happen throughout our life. and we get to decide if they're happening to us or for us, right? And but that's what I've learned is that I don't know. I guess I felt like just for so long I had to be what others wanted me to be or who I was like expected to be. And I've literally been doing that my whole life. And I did my TED talk around it, right? And I thought I mean, talk about the secret. I thought I knew the secret to being enough. And that's even what I
Mm.
titled my TED talk. And I thought that knowing like what it was like to be enough. And yet I still was like living under a mask. I still wasn't
Mhm.
fully speaking my truth. I was still kind of waiting in line or waiting for permission or, going second instead of just stepping up and being who I am. And now it's like, it's different. I don't know. It's different. Like, and maybe it's
Mhm.
because became a mom, because since becoming a mom, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I'm not waiting for anybody
Like
else.
we're a human. Like we're a
Yeah.
human.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like today when I show up, like even on stage or in front of students, and I see young women come up to me afterwards, they're like, "You're so confident. How are you so confident?" And
Mhm.
I've been hearing that so much, especially over this last year. And I think I realized that because I'm not hiding, I'm not pretending. It's not
Yeah.
fake, like
The
this is
real
all
you.
really real. And this is my real life. And I'm
Yeah.
not up here to perform. Like this isn't a show. This is who
Yeah.
I am. It's my real life. And, to truly step into that, no matter what job you're in, whatever role you're playing, like, oh man, it's a different kind of healing and growth.
Yeah. I want to share with you because I was getting lots of confirmation goosebumps, but what was coming through to me as you were speaking is one of my all-time like favorite, probably this is the most religious thing you're going to get out of me, but it is well with my soul. Um, when we start to allow ourselves to let the soul lead, right? The remembering process where you start to remember who you came here to be. And you're stepping into that. You didn't come here to be small. And, we're conditioned, right? We're conditioned to play nice, follow the leader. Um, especially as girls, right? Um, you're never going to help hear me say to somebody, be nice, just be nice. Be kind, yes. Be nice, no. Um, but it's conditioned. And so I think, right, is well when you're soul led and it's like your body is got a whole hell yeah saying, this is the right direction, this is the right way for me to go. I do want to talk a minute about your nonprofit that you have because you guys travel the country and you speak to middle school and high school aged kids. So can you just talk to that a little bit for the audience? I want them to know like the the deep, deep work that you're out there doing.
Yeah, definitely, because this book is just a small piece of it.
Yeah.
But so Rise Together nonprofit got started back in 2013. We just celebrated our 12th anniversary, and to watch it grow, really, it's a grassroots movement to bring awareness around addiction and recovery, but in hopes to, prevent young people from not just using substances, but from really, hopefully inspiring them to live a fulfilling life and to share their own story and hopefully inspire, adolescents in middle schools and high schools to advocate for change around things that are important to them, issues and topics that, are important to them. And we've done that now. We've reached over 500,000 students in
Oh,
the last 12 years after
yeah.
we really sat down and we did a lot of, work and looking at our impact in the last decade. We now also have recently partnered with a Penn State College of Medicine who launched their
Cool.
research around our work. So our programming
Okay.
has now been published in the National Institute of Health, along with the National Library of Medicine, just really showcasing the impact that, peer-led prevention is impactful. It's really powerful and it's actually making a difference. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, we'll go into communities and really hoping to educate and engage young people, yes, but also teachers and their parents to not just know that there is a problem in our community, but hopefully, inspiring them to take action, to drive them to, make a difference. Because at the end of the day, like we know our communities are being impacted when it comes to things like substances or, mental health, especially. They say 1 in 4 youth, struggle with their mental health. But really, at the end of the day, we all have mental health because we all have a brain. And we're
Yeah.
trying to, help them understand that they're not the only ones and that it's okay to ask for help. That if you're struggling, if you're going through something, no matter what it is, no matter how big or how small it is, it matters. And it matters because they matter, because their voices matter. And we're able to share that
Mm.
from a lived experience, as someone who went through school feeling like my voice didn't matter or that, my story wasn't relatable when in fact it really was. And if I would have just maybe spoken out, or if maybe I would have known that I wasn't the only one, I wouldn't have maybe went down the path that I did. And so
Sure.
for us, we've been able to, yes, educate, half a million students, but really trying to take that message beyond the stage to provide, peer-led programming. And now we officially this last year kicked off our Rise Hangouts. And so we're
Yeah.
looking to create safe spaces for young people within the communities that we serve. And we're piloting it actually in Appleton and throughout the Fox Valley over this next year. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like. But it's going to be a youth drop-in space where young people can, get connected or maybe be inspired or maybe learn some healthy life skills around, cooking or yoga or breath work or meditation, or name a thing that, we're not teaching them in school. We're going to try to bring that into community spaces where young people can, yes, get involved if they want to, but can also just be, just hang out, maybe pick up a book or grab a guitar, or play a video game or maybe do something they've never done before. And so we're trying to create that because based on, the feedback that we've received by going into communities, that's what we've heard. Like young people, they want to, they want to make a difference. They want to learn how to support their peers and they want safe spaces with adults who understand them, who, want to support them, who want to be, a positive model for them. And so it's been an incredible journey. I get really excited. We have some really cool things coming up this next year, so be sure to check it out. We have all that information on our website, and you can find that at weallrisetogether.org. And I know you'll share that in the notes later, but
Yeah.
Rise Together truly is making a great impact, and I think it's going to be growing, pretty significantly in Wisconsin. I mean, we've already worked with over 55 different counties, and I think we're going to continue to see that momentum over the next decade.
That's so awesome. And they say all it takes is one adult, right? So every young person needs one adult to have an impact in their life. So you can be that adult for somebody, be that connection to let them know that there is more out there for them, to help lead them on the right path. That's amazing. And so you dropped the Rise Together, but if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, they want to reach out to you, can you share how they can find you?
Yeah, definitely. So I am on almost all social media platforms. You can find me at nadine.speaks on Instagram. Otherwise, my website is also nadinespeaks.com. All the information is on my website. You can find me there. You can find my book there. So nadinespeaks.com/book. You can buy it on Amazon. Also, I'm sending out signed copies after the first of the year. And so, yeah, between my website, Rise Together, social, yeah, you can find me on there.
I'm waiting for my copy so I can read it. I need
Yes.
a copy. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Nadine. It just has been such an incredible blessing. I feel like divine intervention, right? That you and Anthony showed up at the high school I worked at a time where hearing your voices was something that I really needed as well. So I do thank you guys for that. And again, thank you for being a guest on the Secret Keepers podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining the Secret Keepers podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a like and follow so we can invite you back. And if you just want more, visit CorrineZuleger.com. Remember, you're not alone.